Society.
Promo. It's a real
Hello everybody, welcome back to coverage of the Mythic Society Arena Community Cup. If you've just joined us, welcome. You've come at the right time. We are going into the top 4. Before we bring in our top 4 feature match, we're just going to have a look at the results of all of the quarterfinals in this month's Arena Community Cup. As expected, there were a lot of copies of Team of Reclamation, Sean, and they all did very well.
Yeah, looking at the top 8, we had 4 Team Reclamations and a 5th 4-color Reclamation, which same thing, just adding to Fairy.
Yeah, and it looks like going into the top 4, we had Casey Jarvis beating Brandon Burton on Mono Red Aggro, so Casey with Team of Reclamation through to the quarters. Jason Williamson also on Team of Reclamation beating Ian Connolly in a very long match against Kethis combo, so Jason is also through. Then we just watched with you and Sidetrack that Luca Moretti take it down in 3 games against Michael Morin or Michelle Morin, and so that's 3 copies of Reclamation of the team of Flavor through, and our lone fighter who we are hoping to see this round, Oliver Frith with Boris Combo actually beating Team Reclamation in their quarterfinal.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. I really want this Boros combo deck or Boros feather deck to do well. Looking at the list, I don't know. I personally think they're a favorite here.
Well, you've got to imagine that bringing a list like this to a tournament where the metagame is relatively well known, that you're going to come across a lot of Field of the Dead Reclamation lists. Oliver must have had this matchup in mind, right?
Yeah, like we had talked about a little bit earlier, they were 5-0 going to the top 8. My guess is they probably played Team Reclamation at least 2 or 3 times, and then once again in the top 8. So just had to take it down again, I guess.
All right. I wonder if we have time to just have a quick look at the deck list. Although I think the players are actually ready to go. So let's go down to the action. And we have got Oliver Frith on Boris Combo, who's going to be our feature player for this particular round. So Oliver, who's Maze of Wrath, a great username, here with a pretty sweet opening hand, Dreadful Arcanist, 10th District Legionnaire, Feather, and a couple of 1-mana spells.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much more you're looking for in an opener. So I think maybe an Adonto Vanguard. Otherwise, this hand is pretty much perfect, I would say, from the Boros side.
And if you are prepared to bring this kind of, outlier deck or spicy deck to a tournament, what are some of the advantages and maybe pitfalls of doing that?
Yeah, so I mean, we brought this deck, and we have a lot of creatures that gain indestructible. We have the Adonto Vanguard, and then I believe the other card is called something Swiftblade. Seasoned Hollowblade. That's the name of the card.
Seasoned Hollowblade, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 3/1 for 1 and a white that you can discard a card and give him an indestructible. Both that and Adonto Vanguard are going to be humongous in this matchup.
All right, it's going to be Dreadhorde Arcanist on turn 2. As we see that the Team of Reclamation player, Casey, has managed to ramp out into the Reclamation on turn 4. So both players doing kind of what they want.
Yeah, I mean, the Dreadhorde Arcanist this turn is probably going to be not flashing anything back. We just probably want to hold up this God's Willing, honestly, for a Magma Quake. But, I mean, we have 2 creatures in play, and we're battling. So this is a good start for the Boros deck.
I'm just trying to remember the creature types for both of these creatures, but I believe one is a human and one is not. So
Dreadhorde Arcanist sure doesn't look like a human, that's for sure.
Well, it's in the Dreadhorde, right? So it's got to at least be a zombie. I think it's a zombie wizard.
Ooh, that's a good point. It might be a zombie, yeah.
All right. Wilderness Reclamation going to be producing a bunch of mana. 10 mana available for 4 must be nice. Let's see what this is here. Do you smell an expansion?
Yeah, I think this is just, you got to kill Maze of Firth as fast as possible. This is going to be an explosion upstairs for 6. It might be we just cash in a fight as 1 right now. Oh no, we want to save it for the feather. But we just need to cast as many explosions as quickly as possible, I think, here.
Wow. So Fighter 1 is actually going to target both of these creatures. The 10th District Legionnaire does, of course, get a +1/+1 counter from that. As Maze of Wrath goes to untap, and now that Fighters 1 is ready in the graveyard to be cast with Dreadhorde Arcanist. So here comes Feather, and this is now that combo that we have seen a little bit in various formats, but if you could maybe just explain some of these synergies going on here between Feather and...
Yeah, so Fighters 1 targets both Dreadhorde Arcanist and 10th District Legionnaire, and then 10th District Legionnaire says when he casts a spell that targets it, it gets a counter, and then Feather says when he casts a spell that targets one of your creatures in the end step, put that spell back in your hand. So 10th District Legionnaire exponentially being pumped by the Fighters 1 and the trigger, and then the Fighters 1 going back to your hand. So what started as a little 2/2 has now become a 4/4 that is going to become a 6/6 essentially next turn, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it must be nice sitting on this Wilderness Reclamation, a billion cards in hand, but just looking at their list, not a huge number of ways to deal with this board, especially with this Fighters 1 being known information.
Yeah, this is a really tough spot for Must Be Nice. This is, I would say, a nightmare scenario. They have to answer multiple different threats, one of which cannot be blocked by zombies. Not really sure what they can get here. It might be something like a Growth Spiral into like putting a land into play to make some blockers and a Shark Typhoon. That might be what it is, but not really too sure what they can have up their hat here. There's that Shark Typhoon.
Yeah, step 1, gonna make a big Shark Typhoon ready to block Feather. Or at least able to block Feather.
Gonna try. We do have that God's Willing.
Yeah. Let's see what Maze of Wrath decides to do. It doesn't fire off the Fighters 1 again. Ooh, shock as well for Maze of Wrath.
Yeah, this is a pretty good... From Maze of Wrath's side, they got to be pretty excited. We have... already lethal damage in play. The shock halves Must Be Nice life total in half. So we're going to get to come across and shock him again, put him to 4, meaning we have 2 different sets of threats. Okay, so an Aether Gust.
Okay. Aether Gust on Feather the Redeemed. Maze of Wrath just thinking about this God's Willing in hand. Are you firing it off here to protect Feather?
I think we're supposed to. I feel like we want to. I would, but maybe that they probably have more experience with the deck than I do, so maybe it's not right, but I feel like that's what we want to be doing.
Maze of Wrath really taking giving us a little bit of the run around here, trying to figure out whether to put this God's Willing on the stack or not. Even without, there is a shock in the graveyard, so Must Be Nice at an effective 4 life. The Shark would be able to block this 10th District Legionnaire if Feather was to go away, but God's Willing is going to be fired off.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, ooh, okay.
Wow.
I was about to say...
Aether Gust.
Yeah, I was about to say the Feather, giving the Pro Blue from God's Willing, would have been able to attack through the Shark, but no longer able to do that. But...
So...
God's
but...
Yeah, God's Willing...
Dreadhorde Arcanist.
Yeah.
So, sorry to cut you off there, John. Dreadhorde Arcanist recasting this God's Willing from the graveyard. Gonna give that 10th District Legionnaire Pro Blue itself, and in combination with this Fighters 1, that's gonna do it. That's gonna be lethal in game number 1.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, that God's Willing coming in handy here, protecting him from the Shark, and yeah, we're gonna come across from 7, putting Must Be Nice to -1. Awesome.
This is insane. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It feels like this deck was purpose-built to beat Team of Reclamation.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I mean, we have a lot of good sideboard cards, too. I mean, we have double Blood Sun, which is pretty good, and then we have a couple copies of Red Cap Melee, looks like, as well, that we might be boarding in.
The Blood Sun's definitely coming in. Interesting to see Flame Sweep in this deck. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the Flame Sweep is just more of a stopgap for if your opponent goes wild with zombies, you can make your Hollow Blade and a Danto Vanguard indestructible, then Flame Sweep them all away. So that's pretty exciting. I'm not 100% sure if that's the strategy we want to take, just because it is a little more reactive than proactive, but we might be reaching for him. Who knows?
Well, it does look like it's going to be 2 copies of Flame Sweep left in the main for Maze of Wrath. Light of Hope as well. Oh yeah, 1 copy of Red Cat Melee coming in for a copy of Reckless Rage.
Yeah, so I gotta reread Light of Hope. Does that destroy an enchantment? I think, right?
It does. It's
okay.
Either +1/+1 or destroy an enchantment or gain life, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Yep. So that card having multiple uses in this matchup, pumping your creature or killing a reclamation. So that's pretty nice.
All right, looks like it was a mulligan to 6 for Must Be Nice on the plate there. Maze of Wrath keeping this 7. Season Hallowblade, the new 2-drop from M21 we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Maze of Wrath showing us the power of their deck, and this is another opener that is insane. We have the Hollow Blade, which is one of the cards we want in the matchup, plus 3 1-mana spells, so there's not really much more we can ask for here.
I would also like to draw everyone's attention to the absolutely stunning sleeves that Maze of Wrath is playing. I believe those are actually the PT Final sleeves from this weekend, although I might be mistaken. But that promo Path to Exile are very, very nice there. Casey Jive is playing pretty sweet sleeves as well, Song of Temptation. But this art is just disgusting.
Yeah, the nice stained glass look. Yeah, it looks pretty gorgeous.
It really called back to that Dominaria kind of feel as well. All right. Must Be Nice getting Team of Reclamation. Getting Wilderness Reclamation down on turn 4. I just thought the card was called Team of Reclamation. That's how many times I've said the words Team of Reclamation in the last few months.
Right. Might as well be, right?
Okay, here comes the team. Hallowblade and Legionnaire getting in there. Defiant Strike gonna pump up that Legionnaire.
This is already 50% of our opponent's life total. This is already scary.
I'm just in awe at the power of this deck and its seeming resilience, against these really value-based, really grindy kind of decks that we see throughout this format. All right, let's see what Must Be Nice can string together here. Blast Zone, that usually pretty good against aggro decks, but how's it going to do here?
Well, I think it's actually all right, so we can crank it to 2 and then crack it before combat, and that's going to kill the 10th District Legionnaire, right? I mean, we don't have an indestructible card, we just have protection. And he can't protect from land destruction.
It definitely cannot. Lands are colorless, and you have to give it protection from something. Some color.
Yeah, this is kind of nice. We're going to get to crack it, and then they're going to have to discard a card for this Hollow Blade, too, so...
Right, let's see whether Must Be Nice chooses to crack it right now with the floating mana.
Okay.
Oh, looks like it's going to be a 1/1 shark being cycled with that floating mana, leaving up the Blast Zone.
Yeah, I think that's more of a nod to Maze of Wrath just having maybe another 10th District Legionnaire in their hand. So you want to leave up the Blast Zone as long as possible, basically.
Meanwhile, Maze of Wrath, cycling these Defiant Strikes, finds another copy of Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is going to go to the bottom. What's Maze of Wrath digging for?
I think they're looking for another haste threat or a feather at this point. I think all I'd really be looking for.
Right, Maze of Wrath going to fire off this God's Willing. 10th District Legionnaire was going to be sent to the bottom, but hastily rescued. Wow, Mason was really just spending these spells, as if they're pennies in a candy shop.
Yeah, this I think is the pivotal turn. Your opponent has to answer one of your threats, so you want to try to get in as much damage as possible. So the Blast Zone's going to clean up that 10th District Legionnaire, and then we're not really going to be able to do anything, actually, because we have to... That taps the Hollow Blade. I forgot about that effect. Oh, Fight as One gives Indestructible.
Yeah, it would tap the Hollow Blade, except Fight as One is going to give this Legionnaire Indestructible. There are only humans out right now, but Hollow Blade can give itself indestructible, as we know. I
forgot about the indestructible part on Fight as One. Wow. Okay. Now we're coming in and putting our opponent to 1.
Yeah. This is very impressive stuff here from Boros Feather. Must be nice. All the way down to 1 in game 2 and already down a game. So 1 life between them and their hopes of advancing to the finals in the Arena Community Cup.
Yeah, this is a pretty difficult spot for Must Be Nice. They have to have a multitude of answers because there's also a haste threat coming down next turn as well that Must Be Nice doesn't even know about yet.
Okay, let's see what they can string together in the end step. It's Wilderness Reclamation, floating a bunch of mana. They do have enough mana for Expansion X6. Explosion X6.
Yeah, if they do it for 6, though, that leaves them dead to the 10th District Legionnaire on top, right? So they got to be a little careful here. It might just need to be something like a Brazen Borrow or something cheap that they can cast, maybe. Okay, all our eggs are in this basket, and then I think that just leaves them dead to the 10th District Legionnaire.
Yeah, they, of course, don't know it yet, but this big explosion to take down the 6/6 Legionnaire leaves them with just 1 blocker and all of their mana being used. The hasty threat from Maze of Rith going to come down, swinging in with the team, and that's going to do it. So Maze of Rith taking that 2-0 in very, very convincing fashion, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying before, we thought that deck was going to be a little favored, but wow, that was something else. That was super exciting to watch.
Well, maybe there's hope yet for this format if a deck like Feather the Redeemed, the Dreadhorde Arcanist, and this ragtag band of soldiers can get through against the might of Team at Reclamation.
Yeah, that was super awesome. I mean, this looks like the deck to play if you want to beat Reclamation. Maybe I'm probably gonna sleeve it up on Arena myself, so I'm gonna give it a whirl, I think.
Well, you'll have to let us know how you get on with that. I always love to see this kind of event, this kind of medium size, leading up to big events next weekend, of course. The Arena Open is going to be historic for the first time, and we are also looking forward to the Mythic Invitational. Do you see, the metagame developing, adapting to beat Reclamation, or do you think Reclamation will adapt to beat the meta?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of both right now, right? I mean, we saw the 4-color Reclamation deck having Teferi in it, which is the deck becoming a little inbred to beat itself already. And then the Boros deck coming at it from the other angle, which is just playing Hollow Blades and Adanto Vanguards. So it's a little exciting to see where it's going to be for the Open next weekend, but I'm sure that there's going to be Reclamation decks everywhere still.
All right, looks like we can bring you some action from the other semi-finals. So this one having finished in pretty quick order. Let's go down to that now. It's going to be Luca Moretti, who we saw take down 4-color Reclamation in their quarterfinal earlier. And it's going to be the Reclamation Mirror. So Luca is against Jason Williamson on Team Iraq.
Yeah, so we're going to come down, and it looks like the L guy... we're in Sears' turn right now, and we're going to be either upkeep or draw stepping this Wilderness Reclamation to try to get it out of the equation. Not 100% sure how Sears would feel about that, but it looks like they're okay putting it on top.
Yeah, that reclamation going to stay on top of Sears' library. There is an Uro in the graveyard available and an active Field of the Dead as well. Looking over at Luca's hand, wow, a handful of counter spells, but not very much else going on.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tough spot. It looks like we're actually just
yeah, that reactive hand not going to do it for Luca, and I believe that's one game. Oh no, I believe that is 0-2 for Luca, and that is going to do it
Jason.
for.
Yeah,
no, 0-2 for Luca as Jason takes that one down. So it's going to be Team of Reclamation into the finals from that quarters. That wasn't surprising because that was the Reclamation mirror. And Boros combo through to the finals from the other semis that we just watched. So it's going to be Team Reclamation in the hands of Jason Williamson against Oliver Frith with Boros combo in our finals. What do you think about that after this whole day of battling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited to see Team of Reclamation hopefully get taken down, but, you know, the Reclamation deck historically is pretty powerful, so it's possible that it still overpowers the Boros deck somehow, but fingers are literally crossed right now for Boros Feather.
Awesome stuff. All right, if before we cut away to a break before the finals, I just wanted to make everyone a little bit aware of what's going on here. If you have just joined us, or maybe if you're new to the Mythic Society, new to these events, this is the Mythic Society Arena Community Cup. This happens once every month, and if you join the Mythic Society by subscribing to this Twitch channel, you can actually enter this tournament as well as a whole bunch of other tournaments. So this particular one, $1,000 in prizes. I believe the winner is going to take $350 in store credit away this afternoon. And they also have weekly trials, which is bi-weekly tournaments, which are kind of more that F&M feel, 4 rounds with store credit. And also they run set roulette tournaments, which is a really, really cool, innovative format where every month they announce 6 random sets from throughout Magic's history, and everyone has to build kind of block constructed type decks using those 6 sets. So pretty cool stuff from the Mythic Society. Definitely subscribe to this channel and join the community, get in the Discord, and try and play some of these events if you can, because they're super good value and very fun. All right. So I think that is going to do it for the semi-finals. We are going to cut to a break, and then when we come back, it's going to be myself and Sidetrack to bring you the final. So thank you for joining us today, Sean, on the broadcast. Where can we find you on the internet if people want to chat to you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Toolshed and twitch.tv/Mr. Toolshed. I am currently trying to make top 1200 in Mythic by playing whatever I can play that's not Wilderness Reclamation. I'll be streaming Monday to Friday this week to hopes to make it.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I'll come check out your stream, I'm sure, sometime this week, and hopefully some of our viewers will as well. So yeah, thanks for joining us. It's been super great to have you, and we will be back very shortly with the finals, so don't go away.
Bye.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Mythic Society.
Waste that oil promo. It's a real.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of the Mythic Society Arena Community Cup for July. The format is historic, and Carlin, we made it to the finals, and it's not a reclamation mirror.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle. We've I'm excited to see what's going to happen here, and if I can take it down. It seems like Feather has an okay matchup from the things we had talked about previously, so we'll see if they can swing it here.
Yeah, Oliver Frith on Boros combo, or better known as a feather, Boros feather aggro.
Flying Bird Lady.
Flying Bird Lady, Spellsy-ish, Dreadhorde Arcanist, some soldiers, some humans, some non-humans, has been stomping through this tournament today against all these copies of Team of Reclamation and finally has made it to the finals. Oliver is going to be playing against Jason Williamson, who took down their semi-final against Luca Moretti 2-0.
Let's hop right in.
All right, looks like we're ready to go to the action. So let's find out who's going to take the grand prize away in this month's Arena Community Cup.
350 in store credit to buy you a lot of goods.
Yeah. Did you say a lot of feathers?
The voice in our head said it.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were making a really funny joke on
no, I would never dare to be funny.
$350 store credit in the Mythic store not only gets you singles and stuff, but also a bunch of Mythic Society merchandise. So definitely be on the lookout for that as we look at the opening hand for Oliver here. A Dante Vanguard, 2 copies of Legionnaire, and a bunch of removal.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a Danto a go, it's pretty good. Then 10th. The Rages are kind of dead. But, you know, it's okay. Well, because it can always clean up a random token or a shark typhoon or what have you, so it's not totally dead. It's just like, probably didn't want to see the second copy.
Usually we see a lot of protection spells or, pump effects out of...
Fight is one, God's willing... Fight as one ended up taking over the spot of the indestructible spell, since there are humans in the deck, so you can protect 2 things for 1 mana, which is just infinitely better than 1.
Would you say it's infinitely better, or would you say it's 100% better?
Well, 100% infinitely better.
All right.
You get 2 if you can choose the one or the other spell, and the one has an upside for free, then you might as well.
All right, Adanda Vanguard going to be joined on the battlefield by 10th District Legionnaire, and in for 5 on turn 3. Seems to be the hallmark kind of curve for this deck.
Yeah, just worried about the lack of protection and pump spells. Flame Sweep could still be a house here. But it would be nice if we saw maybe a cheeky Shark Typhoon that got Reckless Raged.
Sears sitting back on 5 open mana, not firing off a Flame Sweep if they have one.
Yeah, you might want to get a little more value out of it. Not sure if you want to run the second 10th out because you don't have a way to protect it, and then you're just relying on a Danto. But it's not unreasonable to clock your opponent. I tried playing Feather the other night, and I just couldn't get the hang of it for some reason. Attacking with creatures is very difficult.
Wow, Mystical Dispute is actually going to take care of that 10th District Legionnaire. So maybe, is this a sign that Sears doesn't have any other removal going?
I think so, but it's also one of the only opportunities you're going to get to use a Mystical Dispute against this deck because it's very low to the ground with cheap spells, right? So you don't have a lot of opportunities where that's going to be relevant, so you probably should take it if you can.
Temple of Triumph scrying that land to the bottom, not what you want to see.
Yeah, Feather doesn't need any more lands for the rest of the game. It needs to be Feather, pump spell, like draw a card, pump spell, protection spell, anything but more lands. It's just not going to end up well.
Alright, Sears down to 5 after this attack. Just cleanly be attacked for 5 damage 3 times. And here's an explosion just for 2. Mm-hmm. And that's actually going to go to the face.
Yeah, the opponent's obviously worried about a protection spell that just doesn't exist in their hand right now, but, you know, it's there. The threat of it's there. Generally, the Feather player always has 1 because of just the amount that is ran in the deck, but this hand is actually pretty weak right now. The Flame Sweep, not going to do much. There is the line of casting a Reckless Rage on a token and then making your 10th big enough so the next time when you Flame Sweep, you'll be okay. Which is probably going to be a line here if Field comes on.
So, looks like Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath.
This is
gonna come
cute.
down.
This is very cute.
Mazerbrith going to target the Uro with that Reckless Rage as well as the 10th District Legionnaire, getting that +1/+1 counter.
I like this play a lot. Because next turn you get to do it again on the zombie token.
Oh, wow. And, okay, so it is going to be Field of the Dead and another copy of Field of the... and another land. 2 zombies now on the defensive for Searsist. So next turn, if Mazerbrith untaps, kills one of these zombies, pumps up the 10th district. What? I mean, it just feels like he's so close to winning, but
this is an interesting line because Feather's going to try to finish it off in the air because the ground's about to be so mucked up. So you can make an argument for casting Reckless Rage on one token and then Flame Sweeping. But we saw no pause, no Aether Gust pause, so the Reckless Rage is definitely going to happen on the first one. And then maybe save it for the next. And then you have this Flame Sweep in your pocket.
Flame Sweep looking pretty good in this spot with the Dante Vanguard able to get indestructible, as well as obviously it not affecting Feather.
Yeah, and why they're tanking a little bit is they're going to attack with the Dante regardless, so you might as well pay the life and put it on there because it's going to happen anyways.
Okay, here we go. Here's the Reckless Rage on one of the zombies.
I'm interested in the target here. I think it's Feather, and then if they choose not to block, which they will, then you can put it on. Then you can pay for a Danto. But I don't think this is like a situation. The spell is free, right? It comes back at your end step, so you might as well cast it on one of them and get something. But the other logic is wait for them to block with 10th District and then do it so you get an extra pump on 10th District. But a double block is... That would be very heads up. Honestly, that double block would not be bad.
Sears is deciding to not go for that line, just going to go for the chump and, well, I guess double chump here. So... Passing the turn back. Choosing
not to use Reckless Rage. I think it's because they know that the ground is about to be mucked up and there's not... that was the last attack you get, which I think is why you should do a pre-combat so you can get at least 3 damage in, which changes your clock on Feather by a turn. Unless you want to blow your Flame Sweep and hope they go all in and tap out for some odd reason. The other option is Flame Sweep plus Reckless Rage next turn on an escaped Uro. But at that point, the life total is getting a little bit high. 10th District also scries, so they might want to set up their draw step and go for the OTK.
Right, looks like Searsist is going to go for that escaped Uro.
It's actually ridiculous how many lines there are with just 2 spells in hand.
Yeah, the way you're explaining it, I'm like sitting here like that calculating woman meme, being like, what?
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to add it up, and with double Uro as well.
It's a very complicated deck that rewards tight play.
Yeah, and I mean, on Team Rebecca Mation's side as well, you know, this ground is indeed extremely gummed up.
We see another trick here too. This is the way Feather is worded. End step. they can Reckless Rage again, actually.
Ah, so you can Reckless Rage in their main phase, and then Reckless Rage again in end step to get rid of this Uro.
And then
This is super cool.
Yes.
This deck is so sweet.
Yeah, a lot of lines with very little spells in hand. You still have, and that's probably why I couldn't play it, because I was trying to stream it and play it at the same time, and it just like I could not see these lines. Expansion is spicy.
Expansion. Yeah, expansion is going to copy the Reckless Rage. It's going to target. What do you target here?
Feather. Always Feather.
Always Feather.
This is actually really bad.
Wow, because now the Reckless Rage is not coming back, right?
I'm not sure if the ability went on the stack. I think it was gone, so I don't think you get it back this time. And you can keep the 10th, I guess. But it's you can flame sweep. Yeah, but I think you have to dig for something better. That was that was kind of a total blowout. Oh, they do in fact get it back though. So
wow.
The ability happened.
So
I'm not sure why they didn't.
Back.
I'm not sure why they did not pay Adanto to kill Uro.
Yeah, bit of a weird one there where they did not pay for life to use that Reckless Rage, but
because they're planning to sweep.
Oh, okay. So this time, Flame Sweep gonna take down both of those blockers, and we are gonna see a big attack now here for 8. That's gonna take Sears down to 6. So let's see what Sears has on the crackback. I believe that Uro can't come back anymore, at least not just yet.
Yeah, the issue is now the ground is at least 1 per turn if they don't have a ramp spell. And that kind of really makes... Oh, wow. The second field, that means that Feather has to do the rest of this work. And that means 2 more turns, and they have to dodge Gust, Expansion, Shark Typhoon, Quake. Quake hits the ground but doesn't hit Feather, which is important. But they have to dodge almost too many spells now.
Right, well, let's see with... So, Mazerith, step 1, play out this Feather.
Yeah.
There was a gap, but no Aether Gust.
Probably, it's definitely pausing them for this Castle Scry.
Ah.
Among other things.
That Castle Vantress hiding out there in Sears' plans. Interesting to see no attack here from this 10th District Legionnaire.
Turns out the pause was just for another expansion explosion. It's crazy how this deck, how this deck ramps, because they just cast it for 7 with no wreck in play, which is like still really strong.
Yeah, Mazerith down to 3, and you know the best thing that Explosion does is it usually draws the next copy of Explosion, although 2 copies already in the graveyard. And all of a sudden, Sears is looking pretty good to maybe take this game 1.
Yeah, I think it's almost locked up. The Feather player is going to have to draw cycle card, and start churning through Feather. But the problem is they're only at 3, so they don't really have enough time to do that.
Each land from Scissors making 2 more zombies. That was Growth Spiral land, so I believe they actually also still have a land drop this turn to make.
Yeah, and now you get to start swinging, and it's really awkward. And if they have another Flame Sweep, the Feather dies. I think they've read them for no protection spell, and they're not holding full control to bluff anything either.
So... considering the blocks, considering going down to 1, does decide to go to block both zombies.
Yeah, and also they can't pay for Adanto anymore. The best way to get around Adanto is to just make your opponent pay it a bunch. I found if they have two, you should still Wrath, because if you have another Wrath, they've taken so much damage from the Adanto activation. If there's no lifelink, that's usually just the only really way to beat that card outside of an exile effect or a settle.
Yeah, I remember that card very well from Ixalan Limited, where it was an all-star in that format. And Magma Quake going to take down that Adanto Vanguard and the 10th District Legionnaire. Mazerith, seen enough, going to scoop it up in game number 1 here as we go to sideboarding.
Yeah, Feather can't beat in a row if all you have is a Feather. Obviously, Blood Sun coming in hot. It's not amazing, but mucking up the ground is too much. I think Light of Hope is your strongest card here, believe it or not, because with Feather, the way it works, you can destroy an enchantment, and I believe it comes back to your hand if you can use it to pump, get an effect, and then bring it back and then kill an enchantment. So
yes, I believe you have to choose the pump effect first, I think.
Yeah.
And then
but you basically can get 2 uses out of it. So you get a hate card plus gain life or put a counter on something. So you can always get 2 uses, which is pretty good value.
I love seeing these sweet little 1-mana spells from limited formats past kind of combining together to become greater than the sum of their parts in a deck like this.
Exactly. Light of Hope is kind of borderline unplayable, but if you get to use it twice and you have 2 effects, then it's kind of a lot better.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, going down to game number 2. Looks like Sears is thinking a little bit more about their sideboarding. Are you just bringing in all your sweepers and saying go, or is there more to it?
I think so. I think you just bring in like the extra Magma Quake, I think, is in the sideboard. I'd have to check the exact list, but sweepers are awkward against indestructible creatures, especially since your opponent can have a pretty fast hand. Well, this hand is all gas, but there's no tank.
All right. How do you feel about this 6?
You have to keep it. You have an Adanto on 2 on the play with a Blood Sun and a Fight as 1, and a Scryland. So you kind of like are locked into keeping it. Right. The lack of Feather though sucks, and it makes you not want to keep God's Willing.
Yeah, Adanto Vanguard, the only threat in hand right now for Mazerith. Does have a Fight of 1, as well as, of course, its own innate ability to give it some protection.
Defiant Strike is pretty good as well. Later on, letting you look through the deck. It's obviously best with Feather. It's a 1-mana, draw 1 card. Repeatable.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty strong.
All right, pass back from Searsist now. And we're going to see this Adanto Vanguard coming in, getting +2 on the attack. Sears is going to go down to 17. And no hesitation, slam this Blood Sun.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. If it gets gusted, it gets gusted. And I'm not really sure if they leave in any sort of negate for this matchup. Negate doesn't feel good against Feather in particular, because you're paying 2 mana to counter their cheap 1-mana spell that they have plenty of.
And Feather lets you get this spell back even if it gets countered. Is that right?
It does have to resolve.
Oh, it has to resolve? Okay.
But it is one of those things where it just doesn't feel good to counter that instead of something else, because you have to set up for more. You can't, like, if you're just spending your 2 mana to counter a pump spell without any additional effect, it's kind of a bad deal. So I think you want to rely more on sweepers.
All right. Feather was the draw for Mazerith. Scavenging Ooze on the other side of the battlefield. How good is Scavenging Ooze against this borrow strategy?
I think if they have Feather, it's not really going to gain you enough life. And there's too many combat tricks, and they muck up the ground. So I don't really think it's where you want to be.
It is just a lonely 2/2 right now. There's not really very much in the graveyard for either player. That Blood Sun is locking down Field of the Dead. And yeah, this Scavenging is not really knowing what it's doing right now against a Dancer Vanguard on the ground.
It's waiting. Waiting for a meal.
It's just sat there next to the graveyard with its mouth open, like.
Fight as one is interesting because you could blow one of them now for the extra damage, try to burst through. Because I mean, you have it coming back and a spare one, right? So if they negate this one, they're like, "Oh, I can't believe they just tried to waste that," and then you can do it again.
Mazerith deciding not to go for the fight as one, as both of these creatures are non-humans.
Yeah, you only get one of the. You only get to pump one thing, but it is a one extra damage, and it's kind of a free roll.
All right, it's going to be explosion to 2 to the face. Sees this a handful of cards, but Elder Gargaroth. Out of the sideboard for Scissors.
That big boy's got reach.
I didn't even realize that it had reach. Like, it was so... it has so much text on it, Carlin.
Reach, trample, vigilance.
Vigilance, reach, trample. When it attacks or blocks, of course, you can gain 3 life, draw a card, or make a 3/3. Yep. There might even be another mode that I'm forgetting.
No, that was it. That was the... That's the whole novella on the Gargaroth. And we're seeing the trick here of well, that's interesting. Sometimes you want to save it for end step where you want to draw another card. But I don't know how they get around this Elder without Reckless Rage plus another thing. I'm kind of concerned here how this Elder is just going to stonewall Feather.
Well, can Mazerith use Fight as one Defiant Strike?
If they choose to block, yes. And they will. I would probably lead on Defiant Strike first because you know they have it, so you want a little more info on what you're going to do with your Feather. But the other thing is the opponent has kind of this real clock here.
So, Mazerith actually going to put the Fight as one on a Danto Vanguard.
Okay. Cleaning up the scoos while you can to play a slightly longer game is somewhat reasonable. And then either they block with the Elder or they don't, and they're almost dead.
Wow, yeah, this Elder Gargaroth can get a block in on Feather. It's going to be able to make a 3/3 we'd imagine here, or possibly gain the life.
Yeah, and if the hand is bad, it could just draw a card, but mucking up the ground a little bit is fine. And
second copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Colin.
Oh, you're just in a bad spot where you have one Fight as one that you can actually cast now because you had to use a lot of mana for a Feather deck to get rid of that Elder plus the oozes.
Right, so Scissors on 6, just a 3/3 beast on the battlefield, is going to be able to reanimate an Urog, taking their life total back up to 9. As you say, the ground getting pretty clogged up with these big green boys on the other side of the battlefield. Bloodsun putting in work now.
Yeah, it is putting in work, but it's also pseudo-fixing the opponent's mana. Because they had 3 non-colored sources, and they were tap lands as well. So it's that you're definitely they had this plan open deck list knowing that they were going to bring in the Blood Sun, so they decided to just like bring in a bunch of creatures. So it didn't affect it just didn't affect it as much. They're like, well, if I can't have field, that's fine, but I will bring in all these creatures.
Definitely makes sense as a strategy for the reclamation list, trying to hold off the assault for as long as possible. We know that, of course, the reclamation list can close out games very quickly itself. Here comes a swing in with this fresh copy of the Legionnaire from Maze of Risk Library.
I don't know if they cut all their Reckless Rages. It was open deck list, so there's a way they would know that they would bring in Elder. So I think there's also an argument to maybe playing the Defiant Strike first, maybe fight as one first, scry with 10, see what you get. If you want it, then play Defiant. Quite a few lines here. Definitely don't want land.
Yeah, that Temple of Triumph not doing anything. That's going to get sent to the bottom. We're going to see a cycle from Searsist. And all of that happening before blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is potentially 7 damage. It's looking like coming through, and would be lethal with this known fighters one, right?
Yeah, it would be lethal. I'm interested to see how they push the damage through, because the Uro is kind of, their life total is getting low if they take this full swing.
Yeah, so it's going to be fires 1 to pump up both of those, and that's going to do it. That's going to be 10 damage.
That was 9 total with the unblocked.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. This
is why I don't play Feather. The math is so crazy. The math is it's so precise.
It's just too many numbers. And yeah, Exacxi's there for Maze of Risk. So our plucky Boros hero here taking down Reclamation in game 2, forcing a decider between these two decks in the finals here at the Arena Community Cup. That was exciting. Like, the Team Reclamation deck in that game really was peeking its head around the corner, thinking maybe have we stabilized, have we not? And wow, that last attack there.
that was probably the last turn they could have to close that out.
Opening hand here for Maze of Risk, that's going to be a mulligan. Wow, these double Clifftop Retreat hands.
Yeah, the ironic thing is, decks with 2 mana have worse mana than decks with 3 mana for some reason in Historic. It's not lost on me, the irony.
All right, so Clifftop Retreat, a couple of 2 mana threats and a couple of spells. So this hand looking pretty good were it not for the fact that both of these lands are tapped. Maze of Risk essentially time walking themselves with their mana base, as Searsist does play out the very familiar turn 2 Growth Spiral, ramping out to 4 mana on their turn 3.
Yeah, best case scenario here is they slam a wreck and it gets hit with Light of Hope, but unfortunately that's probably not going to happen.
Instead, it's going to be an Explore and a couple more lands.
Our spiral effects are good.
Yeah, the fact that you can play 8 copies of Growth Spiral is just kind of gross.
Yeah, it's good, and the thing is, this is such a slow start too. Tap land into opponent going spiral, Uro, and they're at 21 on your turn. 3 is not super hot as far as like dealing damage goes. And they've made every land drop plus the ramp, which means they're just like really filtering through the deck, and the mana advantage is insane.
Yeah, look at Sears' side of the battlefield. 7 lands available already, all with different names, of course.
Yeah, and it just feels bad because you're not really allowed to do. The only thing you're super allowed to do is Defiant Strike to try to draw a land this turn, but I don't know why you wouldn't before combat, because you don't. Like Dreadhorde Anarchist, you can set up to Defiant Strike, attack Defiant Strike to draw cards, but you kind of need to land now, not later.
Yeah, let's see if Maze of Rith manages to find that land. It does have a really stacked hand, though, if they're able to get out of these mana issues. Wow, and that's going to be an explosion for 3, just straight up without the reclamation on that Dreadhorde Arcanist. No third land still for Maze of Rith. Going to start cycling this Defiant Strike, but wow, really punished here for this mana base.
Yeah, too late. I mean, it's just too hard to come back. The deck has too many tools. Here comes Uro. You have no clean answer. You have 2 Reckless Rage, but I mean, if you're discarding 2 of your cards to kill an Uro that your opponent brought back after they ramped, you're at card disadvantage as well. I think if this hand curved out, there was definitely a real chance of winning, but I think it involved being a little trying not to set up for the Dreadhorde play and just playing Defiant Strike to be 1 deeper.
Yeah, that turn where Maze of Rith decided to go for the 2-mana wizard instead of cycling. I mean, we know now, obviously, that it wouldn't have worked out anyway, but it looks like Maze of Rith, unfortunately, suffering some of these mana issues here. And wow, Sears making 4 zombies. There's an Uro as well. And is there anything that Maze of Rith can do?
Yeah, you can hit the gear icon and click concede. There's really no way. There's really no way out of this. I'm not trying to be negative. It's just the field opponent has like 2, 4, 6, 8. They have 12, like almost 12 lands in play. You're discarding to hand size, and you're facing down an Uro plus 4 tokens. So you're never getting through on the ground anymore. Your opponent's gaining 3, and even if you slam a feather, it's going to get gusted. You can't keep it on top because you need something else, but the thing you need is feather. So
yeah, well, when you put it like that, Carlin, things definitely look pretty dire for me.
Yeah.
Just holding this Uro back with this plucky seasoned Hallowblade. Choosing what to discard here. Going to be taking 8 though from this attack, down to 12, and not really looking like there's much hope for surviving the next attack with the Horde.
Yeah, that's the real issue, is the zombies are coming in now. And you get to double well, they actually discarded a Reckless Rage, so you can't even get it back as repeatable removal. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is already coming down next turn.
Yeah.
So you can't even make enough blockers, and you have to hope your opponent doesn't have Flame Sweep either, or you draw Flame Sweep and hope they don't gust you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with 2 lands, a Flame Sweep not looking insane either. Here comes a Scavenging Ooze as well. Not doing a whole lot right now, but there is at least 1 creature to eat up in the graveyard. Light of Hope does get to target the Wilderness Reclamation. I mean, you've got to give it to Oliver. Really fighting here for this. Oh, and another tap land. Really not what Oliver was looking for.
Yeah. And that's the problem with Feather, is you're in this position where your spells, when you really put it out there are, you need white, white, white when you want to chain stuff off. You need white, red, red. And you have to. Your mana's kind of strained, so you need to run the Skylands.
That is not going to be enough for Oliver Frith, unfortunately. That Aether Gust sealing the deal there for Jason Williamson to take down this edition of the Arena Community Cup. And wow. Well, Carlin, for a moment there, we kind of had hope that Team Reclamation wasn't going to maybe dominate this tournament in the way that it has. Yeah. But in the end, after all is said and done, it is going to be Jason Williamson on Team Rec. Are you surprised at all?
No, not after yesterday's tournament. We're starting to get the data in here, and it says it's a pretty strong deck.
So after today's tournament, Carlin, and after yesterday's performance in the MTG Arena Zone Open, are you now supporting the people who are maybe calling for a restriction or a ban in this format?
Yeah, I mean, I before bans happened, I said that Rec needed to go, and then they banned Nexus instead, and that was just the payoff spell, so it was never really the problem. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk on Twitter now, and all these tournaments are all the lists are getting screenshot and posted, and I think I was always in the camp for Rec being banned, but maybe now it'll happen.
All right, well, we'll wait to see what developments happen in Historic over the next week, as we do look forward to the Arena Open next weekend. So that's kind of a bunch of these tournaments have been gearing up towards, the first real official quote unquote big money tournament of this format. And yeah, so all of our viewers out there, thank you very much for sticking it with us. Congratulations to Jason Williamson again for taking that one down. $350 store credit. It's the grand prize going to them. Thanks for joining us. Can buy all the tank tops that they desire. And I also believe there's actually some very cool Mythic Society beanies / toques.
Yeah, Caroline and I both have our own discount codes, so you can use Sidetrack for the tank tops, and I believe it's the Mighty Linguini for the beanies, as we call them.
Yeah, I also call them beanies, even though I live in Vancouver, and probably should call it the other thing.
The other thing, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, Carlin. It's been great having you. Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you to, of course, the Mythic Society for putting on such a great show, having such a great community, and putting on all of these events throughout this season, while Magic has been a little bit different to how we're used to having it. Thank you, of course, to Svagoi. Yeah, big shake-up. But it's really cool to see organizations like Mythic Society kind of come out on top and bring people events that are, inclusive, fun, competitive, and have a great spirit to them. So thanks to everybody for making that happen. Thanks to Sugoi. Thank you to Brasky, of course, our wonderful producer. Thank you to Sean, who was with us earlier. And then just to wrap up, Carlin, where can people find you on the internet if they want to interact?
I am Sidetrack is Bad on all social media. I stream every day. I rarely miss a day.
All right. Well, if you want to check out some historic content, which I believe Sidetrack does a lot of, definitely give Sidetrack a follow and see if you can catch them online. As for me, I've been Hayu. You can find me on Twitter at Niphet, Niphtette. I don't have a stream yet, but you can find me in on various coverage teams of various online events, trying to make my way onto casting teams here and there. So I hope to see you guys in a future event. The next few events coming up for Mythic Society, there is going to be Set Roulette in August. I believe the sets are being announced on August 15th, with Set Roulette coming a couple of weeks or maybe a week after that. And then there was going to be the August Arena Community Cup as well, and I believe that's going to be historic at the end of August. So watch out for those events coming up. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Bye.
All right, have a good one.